Go.
Welcome to Songs and Stories Goes Virtual. I'm Saul Fusner, the host and producer of Songs and Stories. And in our virtual edition, we're doing this as a fundraiser for Next Door, for the staff of the restaurant Next Door, where our show usually appears. A little history. I started Songs and Stories last August to bring together the audience for singer-songwriters with the audience for live personal storytelling. And the venue was Next Door Restaurant on the fourth Saturday of every month. And I was able to do 7 live shows before COVID-19. This Fighting Stories show was supposed to happen in March, and the lineup would have also included the rapper Seven Taylor, but he has postponed until we can do another live show. And we are now doing the show as a fundraiser, as I said, for the staff at Next Door. The fundraising account, I think you can see it on your screen, but it is the PayPal for Next Door, paypal.me/nextdoornh, and you'll see it on the bottom of the screen. $8 suggested donation, give whatever you can. All proceeds, again, will benefit the workers of Next Door. When you go to that PayPal account, there'll be a name. It says Doug Coffin, and that's the co-owner of Next Door, and he will distribute the funds to the workers at the restaurant, which is currently closed down due to the COVID emergency. Some thank yous. I'd like to thank Robin Bodak and Maria Corina for inviting me to create this show in the first place at Next Door, and to Doug Coffin at Next Door for providing the means by which we can fundraise for the workers there. And to Kevin Ewing at Baobab Tree Studios in New Haven, who is guiding our ability to bring this online. And to the workers of Next Door for embracing the series and for always providing support to me and to the performers. The first performer tonight is Buzz Gordo. With me, Buzz Gordo makes me think of the really cool British singer-songwriters of the late 1970s, such as Nick Lowe, Elvis Costello, Graham Parker, Joe Jackson. Besides his lyrics, which are smart and funny, he has a little bit of that snarl in his voice. And he also, I think, shares with that group a willingness to experiment with various forms around the edges of rock and roll, country, rockabilly, power pop, early punk, and to make it all his own. The second album from his band Bronson Rock will be coming out in September, so look for that. And now I present to you Buzz Gordo.
Hey, thank you, Saul. Thank you. Wow, that's great. What a nice introduction. I'm so excited to do this. This is like my first time doing an actual live streaming show. I've, posted some during, like everyone, I've posted some stuff on social media during this quarantine, but I've never actually played live. So let's hope my Wi-Fi holds up. I couldn't do a songs and stories about fighting without doing Smokin' Joe. I wrote this song for my old band Big Bad Johns about former heavyweight champion Joe Frazier, the late Joe Frazier. He was alive when I wrote it. We actually got him a copy of the song. We mailed it to his gym in Philadelphia. And at a Big Bad John's rehearsal one night, the phone rang, and it was Joe's, personal secretary said, like, Joe Frazier's on the phone for you. Would you like to talk to him? And I was like, you bet. So I said, hey, champ, did you like the song? And he had kind of a Clint Eastwood tough guy voice. He said, yeah, it was all right. And I asked how the left hook was, because that was his signature punch. And he said, you can't kill it. And that was our conversation. So this one's for Joe. He dug the song. It goes like this. I put my harp up. I'm only going to subject you to harmonica on one song. Smokin' Joe could take a punch, but he gave back a bunch. Working hard was how he hung on to the crown. Diamond stick pin in his collar, meaner than the line of Allah. He was bad in a way you don't see now. As a boy in South Carolina, he would fire his daddy still. When he wasn't making whiskey, he was plowing on the hill. Then came up north to Philly, found work in a slaughterhouse, where his left hook got perfected by him swinging at the cows. First he knocked out Buster Mathis back in 1968. 2 years later, Jimmy Ellis for the world heavyweight. But the fighting world was waiting for the biggest bout of all. Ali needed reinstating. It was Joe who made the call. Smoking Joe could take a punch, but he gave back a bunch. Working hard was how he hung on to the ground. Diamond stick pin in his collar, meaner than the line of Allah. He was bad in a way you don't see now. In the 5 long years that followed, Joe took 1, Ali took 2. At the last one in Manila, looked like both of them were through. Said a lot of things about him to the press at training camp, but it never taunted no one, so when you meet him, call him champ. Smoking Joe could take a punch, but he gave back a bunch. Working hard was how he hung on to the crown. Diamond stick pin in his collar, meaner than the line of Allah. He was bad in a way you don't see now. Thank you, Smoking Joe. This one is another semi-autobiographical number called My Old Band. It goes like this. My old band, we were young and we were thin, and we argued about stupid things. Finally packed it in. My old band, we were loose and we were tight, and we always hit the last call after practicing all night. We believed in each other, we believed in drugs, as we listened to Hank Williams lying stoned on the rug. And our singer had a girl who would put her 2 cents in. We just rolled our eyes and laughed, cause we were unevolved back then. And if I ever met a band who survived the whole run, I would pull out my pencil and take notes on how it's done. Now I'm getting old and I don't care. What's it matter how you felt when you were young, man? I was there on the ladder to success when I just should've took the stairs. Still I scattered all my seeds into the dust, now who knows where. And I'd gladly bet that Marshall stack you propped up on that chair. Ain't no louder than the ones we had that blew apart my ears. We pilfered inspiration like you to rummage through the trash. Yeah, we stole from Bo Diddley and we stole from the Clash. But beneath the appropriation, there was something pure and strong. Even at our drunkest gigs, it came through in the song. My old band, we were tough and we were weak. We were good at self-destruction. We were bad at self-critique. And if I ever met a band who avoided all mistakes, I would spit in their faces, 'cause I know they were fake. My old band. Thank you. All right. Thanks for joining in, everyone who's watching or everyone who's watching it later. Gonna do one more song. This one's kind of a Buddhist number. It's called Around the Sun. This one's on the upcoming Bronson Rock album. Every trip around the sun's gonna end, and I don't believe in paradise. But what happens to us, my friends, is the same thing happens to every life. 'Cause the world's gonna spin and the universe expands. Black holes keep sucking light in. And dimensions may exist where the same you and me are doing it all again. In the Peloponnesian War, in the seas of Aegis Potamy, sunk a sailor to the floor of her waters for all eternity. But the sun still arose and people went to work, and it ain't like he never ever lived. 'Cause a molecule of air that he held in his lungs is in every breath you give. Now we're living in these bodies, we inhabit in this life, and we fear the moment they're gone. Start to hear the train whistle coming around the bend. It's a sound says it won't be long. Every trip around the sun's gonna be something no one ever gets back again. You might wonder how it seems like a cruel way of counting back from 10. But the energy unleashed from a billion different stars makes its way into our atmosphere, swirls around your brain and travels back across and spreads your karma everywhere. Now we're living in these bodies, we inhabit in this life, and we fear the moment they're gone. Start to hear the train whistle rolling around the bend. It's a sound says it won't be long. All right, thank you. Make sure to support Next Door Restaurant. Thank you, Saul.
All right. And one of the things that I love with the storytelling that happens in songs is in such a quick little amount of time, you get taken to such a different world. And we went through the world of boxing to teenage bands to the mysteries of the universe, right? All within under 15 minutes. And that's why I love having the singer-songwriters with the storytellers.
And the Peloponnesian War, don't forget.
Yeah, right. Okay. So So next we are going to have storyteller Jezrie Marcano-Courtney. She's a storyteller who has developed her stories side by side with me in several storytelling groups, including the Institute Library, Songs and Stories, Arts and Ideas, and her own Speakeasy series. And if you want to look for Speakeasy, that's speak?easy. So I have the pleasure of not just knowing her stories, but I also know how those stories came into being through multiple variations before Jezrie took them live to an audience. Jezrie is one of the hardest working rehearsers of stories that I know, so that when she goes live, she's completely ready for that audience energy that brings her to the level of vibrancy that you will now see. So I present Jezrie Marcano-Courtney.
Thanks all, I appreciate it. Hello everyone out there in virtual world, and hello everyone out there in virtual world who'll be watching this later. The spring of 1993 buds and blooms to the soundtrack of my parents arguing. They are in the process of buying our forever home, and money, how much they can spend and where in the city they can spend it to find our house, erupts into bickering and bitter dispute. On a Saturday mid-morning drive, they're at it again. My sister, age 9, and I, age 10, are sat in the back seat of our space blue 1992 Mercury Tracer wagon. I take up the view of what's going on outside of the front of the car through the windshield. And I'm able to do this from the small space in between the driver's side where my father sits and the passenger side, front passenger side, where my mother is sitting. I can see in the distance that there is a red vehicle. And I see that the red vehicle is in the lane for the oncoming traffic. And then I see that this red vehicle changes lanes into the one that we are driving in. I assume that my mother and father can see what's happening in front of them. But as the distance between the red vehicle and our car grows shorter and shorter, I start to get worried. I have two options ahead of me. The first is to interrupt my parents in the middle of their argument and incur their wrath. The second is to just wait and see what will happen. That distance sure is shortening up. I decide to interrupt them. My parents yell to the back seat where I am in unison, "What?" Guys, I think they're playing chicken with us. My dad swerves his car to the right just in time to meet the small red sedan that was about to hit us head on. It passes us, and as it does, I can see two college-age girls laughing their heads off. "Daddy, they're laughing at us," I say. Our car is still in motion when my dad pounds his foot onto the gas pedal and turns the steering wheel all the way past the left. Now our Mercury Tracer wagon is transported into a 1970s cop drama where the cops are giving passionate chase. My dad is driving and he catches up to the little red sedan. He decides to cut in front of them from the left, and then he slams his foot on the brake. The little red sedan brakes just in time, swerves, and takes a 180-degree turn to the left to miss rear-ending us. My dad's able to see that in the side view mirror, and he takes a 180-degree turn. Now our Mercury Tracer wagon has been transformed into the Starship Enterprise as it whistles going into warp speed, once again catching up with the small red sedan. But this time, instead of cutting in front from the left side, he fakes a side ram. And this forces the car to brake and then park to the right side of the road. My dad brakes hard and then parks up to the right side of the road. My parents both get out of the car. My mom lights a cigarette as she exits. My sister and I, who are sat in the back seat, we turn and perch ourselves up on our knees onto the seat so that we can see the show ahead of us. We're filled with excitement and just a little bit of fear of what's to come. My dad approaches the driver's side window of the small red sedan, and he knocks on the window. The college-age girl, who at first was laughing her ass off as she was playing chicken with us, is now reduced to tears. She refuses to open her window. Her passenger, the other college-age girl, now gets defensive because her friend is crying, and she decides to give both of my parents the finger. I'm just shy of my 11th birthday, and I gotta tell you, in my head, I'm thinking, boy, oh boy, these girls are in for it. There are things that I have come to discover about my parents, especially my mother. And of the things that I've come to discover, two sit in the forefront of my mind. First, she smokes a lot of cigarettes when she fights with my dad. Two, you do not give my mother the finger. My mom flicks away her cigarette in a move so graceful that it warrants scores from Olympic judges. My sister and I are distracted just long enough by this to miss her jumping onto the hood of the small red sedan. It's not until we hear the thud of the impact that then our eyes come back to the scene in front of us. Like I said, I'm just shy of my 11th birthday, so I can't tell you out loud what my parents said to these girls, but I can say it was epic, the amount of cuss words they used to communicate with these two. By the time my dad walks over to the side of the car where my mom is still on the hood, banging on the windshield, he simply gently picks her up and takes her away. The two girls on the inside of the car are now sobbing while holding each other. My father stands my mother up on her feet. He walks her gently over to the passenger side door, opens the door, lets her in, and closes the door. He walks over to the driver's side. He gets inside the car. He adjusts himself, turns on the ignition, and gently pulls the car away. My parents look at each other and say, "I love you." And my mother reaches her left hand up to caress the backside of my dad's head. And they start to speak lovingly to each other. And my sister and I are sat in the back seat, looking at each other in a very confused manner. I mean, we're happy that we didn't get killed. Happier still that my parents aren't arguing. But this is too much. After a minute, I can no longer hold in the confusion. I don't know who you people are, I say flatly. Bring back my parents. Thank you.
I think there's some profound relationship advice in there. If you are fighting with your spouse,
Yeah,
find someone outside to have an even bigger fight with.
that fixes
Everything
everything.
will be fine.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Okay. Thank you, Jezrie.
Thanks all.
Okay, guys, remember that we are benefiting the staff of Nextdoor. If you go to the PayPal that's scrolling below me, you can donate. Suggested donation is $8. Give whatever you can. The PayPal, when it comes up, will say the name Doug Coffin. That's the co-owner of Nextdoor. And then the funds will be split between the staff at Nextdoor. Okay, another storyteller who I've worked with a lot is coming up next, Wendy Dalton Marans. Wendy tells stories in such precise detail that they sometimes feel to me like short but complete chapters from some longer novel. The stories take us from rural England to London to New Haven and Baltimore and other places, always with a keen eye for cinematic visual details. And I think you'll see that in her story now. So, Wendy Marans.
Thanks, Sol. And hi to everybody, especially the staff from Nextdoor. Looking forward to seeing you again at some point. I am bicultural and bilinguistic. I speak British English and American English. And sometimes the differences between the two are quite trivial. Sometimes they have just to do with vocabulary. So when I'm in England, I ask for chips, and here I order French fries. When I'm in England, I buy crisps, and here I buy chips. In England, I walk on the pavement, and when I need to cross the road, I find a rather exotic zebra crossing. And I can guarantee that the cars will stop for me even when I'm not wearing black and white. But here, I walk on the sidewalk and I cross on the pedestrian crossing, and I have no way of knowing if I'll get to the other side safely or not. Sometimes the differences have more to do with accent. So in America, we say tomatoes. In England, tomatoes. We all say potatoes, nobody says potatoes. But for a year after I moved here, whenever I had lunch at a cafeteria, I would ask for a tuna fish with tomato sandwich, and somebody would say, what? And I'd repeat it. I'd say a tuna fish sandwich with tomato, and they'd go, what? And I'd capitulate in the interests of not starving and say a tuna fish sandwich with tomato, and I'd get some food. Sometimes the differences between these two cultures and languages are not so benign. And usually that has to do with when there is a social misunderstanding. In the 1980s, I'm living in England with my boyfriend who's American, Chris. And on one occasion, we were having a fairly heated argument. I have no idea what we were arguing about anymore, but I got exasperated and I finally snapped and I said, oh, shut up. And he stepped back and looked mortally wounded. I realized I had crossed a line I did not even realize was there. What's the matter? You don't say that, he says. But I do, I say. That's how all of my arguments with my sister ended. Shut up. No, you shut up. Oh, shut up. Oh, just shut up. And our parents never came and said, you can't say that. But I took this to heart and I thought about it. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, no, that's not cool. I'm really saying I won't listen to your words, taking away your agency. And I stopped using it and I taught my children that is not cool. But these things work in both directions. On one particular weekend, we decided we wanted to do something, and we didn't have much money, but London's a great place to be if you don't have much money, because it's a great walking city, there's good people watching, and lots of the galleries and museums are free. So we decided we would go to the ICA, the International Contemporary Art Gallery, which tended towards off-mainstream art. And we walked down to the Mall, not the mall, the Mall, Pall Mall, which is the grand avenue that goes from Trafalgar Square all the way down to Buckingham Palace. If you've ever seen any affair of state in England, that's the road that the Queen heads back along in her horse-drawn carriage to get home. On the left-hand side is my favorite park in London, St. James Park, which is flooded with daffodils in the spring. And on the right-hand side, these magnificent old buildings, one of which houses the ICA. We walk in, and there's this hush that comes with it, with buildings like that brings me this inner sense of calm immediately. There's a small coffee shop, a bookstore, a screening room, and this sweeping marble staircase up to the left with a wrought iron banister. And we go up. And the exhibit at the time was of a guy named Derek Jarman, who was a director and had just produced a rather unusual version of The Tempest. He was also very into the punk scene in London and had done several documentaries on people who were in that scene. So it was art of his and other things. And we went into the main room, and the first thing that caught our eye was this massive hardwood bed. It was beautiful. It looked rather like a settle, and if you're not familiar with what a settle is, that it's one of those very high-backed benches with rather a short seat that you would often find in church hallways, not especially comfortable. You didn't necessarily settle on a settle. And this one, it was as if he had taken it and stretched out the seat and the arms. Chris pulls out his sketch pad and starts sketching it. This isn't unusual because we have this fantasy that we might see something and eventually make it for our flat. This never happens, but it's something we keep dreaming about. And as he's doing that, this tall, lanky man who's very skinny slouches over to us. He has a safety pin in one ear and a nose ring, and he looks at us and he says, "Oi, I don't want you sketching my bed. That's my bed, and I don't want you sketching it." Chris puts the sketchbook down and apologizes. He said, "It's a beautiful bed." He said, "Yeah, well, I don't want you sketching my design." And then he slouched back to his friend in the corner, who later I realized was actually Derek Jarman. I am so embarrassed. I'm mortified, bearing in mind that the English walk around feeling embarrassed 50% of the time, and 50% of that we don't even know what we're embarrassed about. But I did know what I was embarrassed about, and I hoped people hadn't seen. And I walked off to look at some of the other artwork. And then I notice Chris go over to the guy, and my heart sinks. And Chris says, "You know, that is a beautiful design, but you aren't exactly subtle." And the guy sneered at him and went, "I ain't subtle." And without skipping a beat, Chris says, "No, you're an asshole." The guy takes a step back and looks mortally wounded. He goes, "You don't say that. You don't say asshole." And Chris says, "You are. You're an asshole." And then the guy goes, "Wanna fight?" And to my horror, Chris does the same. And there is this macho posturing like a Punch and Judy show, and they're kind of shuffling back and forth gradually towards the landing. And at this point I go, I cannot believe this. And I sweep out of the gallery, down the staircase, out the front door, take a right and another right up towards Piccadilly. Maybe 2 minutes later, I hear footsteps and Chris is at my side. I can't believe you left, he says. I said, I can't believe what an appalling exhibition that was. Did you fight him? Of course not. So what I took away from this is that in America, you can say with impunity, you asshole, as long as you don't say, shut up, you asshole. They did not teach me that in citizenship class. Thanks.
That story profoundly affects my looking at British and American culture.
Wow.
But I also love how the man who confronts Chris slouches over to us, right? I've not heard that usage that often for someone moving towards you, slouches. And it makes me think of W.B. Yeats, like slouching towards Bethlehem to be born. But anyway, great story about our two countries, about your two countries.
No, please, you're welcome.
Okay. All right. So next we're going to have Lara Herscovitch, who was the 2010 Connecticut State Troubadour. And this is what the Boston Globe said about her recent album, Highway Philosophers. Lara Herscovitch has a luminous voice and a buoyant stage presence. Big-hearted lyrics embrace the sum of life. Herscovitch's music blows on the embers of a lagging spirit. So here she is, Lara Herscovitch.
Thank you, Saul. So today is our theme of fighting stories. I want to share with you 3 songs, 3 different types of fighting. The first will be fighting for oneself. The second will be fighting for someone else. And the third will be fighting for all of us. So we're going to start. We're going to start fighting with grandmothers. I was gonna be a New York Yankee number 9, protect the left field from the third base line. Summer green grass chasing fly balls, grandmothers giving careful porcelain dolls. I knew I could learn to hit a home run over every center field wall. Try not to argue terrible umpire calls, grandmothers giving careful porcelain dolls. Paid by numbers in reverse, in reverse. But life is asking, never time to rehearse. But Major League above it all, I had no time to be a careful porcelain doll. Red wine, white dinner jacket before Labor Day, silver candlesticks all in their rightful place, in a long white dress waltzing in a rented hall, smiling like a careful porcelain doll. He was orchids resting in a crystal glass, I was wild roses on a mountain pass. Saw the future in that crystal ball, and all I felt was careful porcelain doll. Paid by numbers in reverse, in reverse. Well, life is asking, never time careful porcelain doll. Ceramic and pearl, pirouetting ballet, tiny teacup world. Or rosewood, six-string steel, searching sawdust to figure out what I feel in reverse, in reverse. Well, life is asking, never time to rehearse. I sprinted into the nearest brick wall to break all remaining careful porcelain doll. 'Cause music above it all, I have no time to be a careful porcelain doll. Hi, I'm so glad to be here alongside all these great musicians and storytellers. Good to be with new friends and back with pre-existing friendships. My name is Lara Herscovitch, and so I'm going to transition from a song, fighting story, fighting for oneself, to a song, fighting for someone else. And, you know, as luck would have it, this weaves a bridge back to where Buzz started with Joe Frazier. I did not have him in mind when I wrote this. To be completely transparent, I had Rocky Balboa in mind when I wrote this one. This one is called In Your Corner. I'm in your corner. I've got your back when your opponents are on the attack, when they lead with low blows, when they make you bleed. I'll bring the butterfly bandages and anything you need. Some days they beat you to the punch. Referee is lying down for the count. Bell doesn't ring in time on the ropes, but strong as stone. Remember, you're not in that ring alone. No. You move like water, duct tape and grit. Even in those rounds, you're just not feeling it. Borrow my faith in you. Look through my eyes, 'cause yours are black and blue and twice their normal size. I'll get the sunglasses and ice. Some days they beat you to the punch. Referee is lying down for the count. Bell doesn't ring in time on the ropes, but strong as stone. Remember, you're not in that ring alone. Now spit out that mouth guard. This fight is through. I'm gonna throw in the towel. 'Cause sometimes that's the best thing to do. Some days they beat you to the punch. Referee is lying down for the count. Bell doesn't ring in time on the ropes, but strong as stone. In your fancy shiny shorts, fast on your feet, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. There is always another way. We will live to fight another day. We'll live to fight another day. Sunglasses and ice. Sunglasses and ice. Oh, sunglasses So I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna round the corner with a fighting song stories ish. Fighting for all of us fighting together in common cause for like a better place. How's that? And these are all songs off of my brand new album, Highway Philosophers. And with great thanks to Saul for producing all of these. It's I wish we were together at the Next Door. But thanks to everybody who is supporting this virtual fundraiser for the staff of Next Door. Midnight parking lot, drink up, PBR in a paper cup. Shooting satellite, you say this night will change our luck. We're gonna float away, look down at the earth and wave. Jupiter's as nice a place as we've ever been. Calling everybody's angels, angels, angels. Maybe they can finally change us, angels. Friend and foe, for real, for show. Weekend strong, right and wrong. Calling everybody's angels, angels, angels. In the shadows of ashes and scars, we rush off to get what's ours. You say they aim at me and you. In the true light of the hunter's moon, we're gonna float away, look down at the earth and wave. Saturn is as nice a place as we've ever been. Calling everybody's angels, angels, angels. Maybe they can finally change us, angels. Foe and friend, for real, pretend we can strong, right and wrong. Calling everybody's angels, angels, angels. Broke down on Damascus Road, hours waiting to be told. Reaping all the things we've sown, traffic always stop and go. Calling everybody's angels, angels, angels. Maybe they can finally save us, angels, angels. Calling everybody's angels. Maybe they can finally change us, angels. Green and gray, brave, afraid, we can strong, right and wrong. Calling everybody's angels, angels, angels. Calling everybody's angels, angels, angels.
That was beautiful. I felt like on the guitar, on the thumping on the guitar, there was like a heartbeat at the end of that song.
That's the intention.
Did you also mention Roger Maris, number 9 of the New York Yankees?
Actually, at the time, it was Craig Nettles.
Ah, I see. I see. My brother texted me and he said, "Wait a minute, Roger Maris? Like that's not the Yankee legend that anyone ever chooses."
Oh,
But
well, I
but
take it
thanks for
back.
for
Yes, I
for
meant Roger
yes,
Maris, so
thanks for
100%.
clearing that up. I was thinking that, and then I was thinking Pabst Blue Ribbon and a paper, and I was thinking like she's got like all these images of underdogs, and then I was like, okay, Greg Nettles, okay, World Series champion, and
Yeah, they
he
were
didn't
not
hit
exactly the
61 home runs.
underdogs at the
Yeah.
time. It's true. But yeah, my
I
album
just
before this is entitled Misfit, so I'm all about the underdog
There
every
you
time.
go. Okay. Okay. Because, Maris, he hit 61 home runs. He had the home run record for almost 40 years, but there are so many other Yankees that were so, there's even Mickey Mantle on that same team. I'm a Red Sox fan, by the way. I just, happen
That's
to
all
know
right.
all
We love you anyway.
this. Okay. Thank you. That was beautiful. We're going to have Arnie Pritchard doing some storytelling now. Arnie shares with me an obsession with family history in his storytelling, and an obsession with American history, with world history, and the way that family history comes together with those things. While he tells stories in various modes, including folk tales, his main project, besides helping other storytellers develop at the Institute Library, where he leads the storytelling group, has been the retelling of World War II through the letters of his father, who was an officer in the war. And that's what we're going to hear, some of the letters from Arnie Pritchard's father. So here you are, Arnie Pritchard.
Hey, thanks a lot, Saul. As Saul said, what I'm going to do this evening is take a small segment of a really much larger story based on my father's letters home to his parents from World War II and a few other odds and ends. When this section begins, my father is the forward observation officer of an artillery battery, which means basically that he's in charge of a small team of soldiers who spend a lot of time in the front lines with the infantry, using a radio or a field telephone to tell the big guns, who are usually about a mile or so behind them, where they should be firing, whether they're hitting their targets, and in general, what they need to know. And at the start of this segment, his unit has just crossed the channel from England to France to join in the campaign in Normandy. July 27th, 1944. Dear Mom and Pop, we've been over here for a while now, and I've had ample opportunity to write, but I haven't done so for reasons that I can't fully explain. Suffice it to say that there are many things whose recording would be pointless, because any record would be so inadequate. So far, we've done nothing but take a boat ride to France. I've been to Cherbourg. You will have read about that. It's depressing to see a place so beat up. Everything, everywhere around here is beat up. TNT is a terrible destroyer, and there's a monotonous sameness to the look of all ruined buildings. In this hedgerow country, where observation is limited to a few hundred yards, almost every artillery officer has to act as a forward observer, a task second only to that of the infantry. We say that the job separates the men from the boys, and soon, very soon, I'll have the opportunity of determining my own particular slot. So perhaps you can understand why I've not written. There are times in a person's life, it seems, when a little mental wrestling has to be done, and that wrestling can't be shared with people 3,000 miles away. Try and understand that, will you? But let me set you straight, lest you become alarmed at my maunderings. My health is excellent, I'm eating and sleeping well, and I can still see a joke at every turn in the road. I'm tired and I gotta get some sleep. The end is in sight, dear people. Until then, for complete details, see your local newspaper. They know much more about this war than we who are fighting it. Cheers, Anton. P.S. The only package I've gotten is the one with the 2 boxes of chocolates. Can you start another one? Candy, gum, lifesavers? August 16th, 1944. France. Dear Mom and Pop, if the Heinies will just be quiet for a little while, not very likely that, I'll try and straighten you out about a few things. We've been in this about a month now, a month that seems like an eternity. Sometimes I feel like I've never been anywhere else but here in France, tangling with Jezrie. Our part of the war so far has been a peculiar one. At first, it was a big old picnic, liberating about 10 French towns a day and everybody having a big time doing it. Then everything changed when we ran into some Germans. And for a while, every day was like a repetition of the day before. Sometime during the day or night, they'd lash out and snap at us. Somebody would get hurt. But we kept driving on until finally we had to stop. Then they slugged at us. We slugged back at them a little harder, I think. And for now, the thing has pretty much settled down. About the big picture, I couldn't say very much, even if I knew anything about it. I've been fighting what John Steinbeck calls Ernie Pyle's war, as differentiated from General Marshall's war. Real close and intimate like. I'm not saying that to bother you. The chaplains tell us that we should chat about the weather, etc. But when you're in the middle of this stuff, it's kind of stupid not to talk about it. Maybe you don't understand, but right now, this war is my life. Even sitting down to write a letter seems like a crazy contradiction, like a gay joke between me and me. I've seen more than anyone else in the battery since we've been over here. I've spent a great deal of time with the doughs, the infantry. And oddly enough, I'm kind of glad that I have. And I'm becoming more and more convinced that the doughs are the only ones who do any real fighting. Sure, our battery position can get rough when the 88s, the German artillery, open up on it. But after a session with the infantry, going back to our battery area is like going to a rest camp. I have colossal call to gripe. Would that I could transfer him to the infantry for a week and show him what the hell a real war is like. A couple of the boys, Jerry Cura, a hell of a good boy from Boston, and a rough-looking little harp who drives our Jeep, Murphy. We've had some experiences together I won't forget for a good long time. I've been scared, really trembling scared, just once. That was when the three of us were laying wire through a town and a goddamn 88 came looping at us, so close I thought the son of a bitch was going down my throat. We hit the gutter and she burst 100 yards away. Maybe it was being in an enclosed space because 2 or 3 rounds have come closer to me than that one, but for some reason that particular round really made me sweat. It wasn't the only time I've been scared, but it was the only time I felt an almost overpowering urge to get up and run like hell. The demonstrations in the villages bring mixed feelings. Cheering, flower-tossing crowds line the streets, and if you dared stop for even a moment, they'd mob you and the whole column would have to stop. Squads of the Free French resistance fighters form and present arms as we go by, and one time an overjubilant bunch of them with some captured Heine rifles started jumping up and down, hollering, "Vive les Amériques!" and firing the damn rifles in the air. But then, you see an old couple by the side of the road, all choked up with the tears running down their faces, waving a homemade American flag that hasn't got the proper number of stars on it. And you say to yourself, what is the matter with people that they've got to treat each other like animals? Jesus, or somebody, why is that? If all this seems really confused, remember that I'm part of a big confusion over here and have patience with me. Say hello to Mac and Elsa and apologize for me not writing. Also to Elmer and anyone else I should be writing to. And don't worry about me. Every day I get more and more used to this racket, and I'm getting to be pretty good at evaluating a risk. I'm being cautious and careful, and I can take care of myself pretty well, as I've told you before. Good night, Anton. Western Union Telegram, United States Government, Washington, D.C. To Arnold A. Pritchard, 36 Wellesley Avenue, North Providence, Rhode Island. Regret to inform you your son was seriously wounded in action, 22nd August in France. To address mail to him, write First Lieutenant Anton A. Pritchard, serial number, hospitalized, Central Postal Directory, APO 640, care of Postmaster, New York, New York, unquote. You will be advised as reports of condition are received. J.A. Ulio, Adjutant General. About 40 years later, my father and I were standing on the lawn of the house in Vershire, Vermont, on one of those beautiful, calm summer evenings that Vermont specializes in. I have no memory of how we got onto the topic of how he had been wounded, but I remember quite well what my father said about it, about like this. I was with a patrol of the infantry. I was there to call in the artillery support if they needed it. And we were getting close to where we thought the German front line was. And I went into a field by the side of the road to look around, and that put a tall hedge in between me and the infantry guys. Then I heard a German mortar fire. It was easy to tell what it was. A German mortar sounded like a loud cough, very different from anything else you heard. And I saw the shell burst on the far side of the field. And I felt a sudden sharp pain in my leg. And I looked down and the blood was gushing out. I reached up with both hands to the top of the hedge, pulled myself up, and rolled across the top of the hedge. The last thing I remember before I passed out is seeing the ground coming up at me as I fell. Fortunately, I landed near an infantryman who had been paying attention in first aid training. He got a tourniquet around my leg right away, stopped the bleeding, and may well have saved my life. I woke up in the medical evacuation tent. That is not my father's whole story, but it's what we have time for tonight. So thank you very much for your attention, and please be as generous as you can to the next door staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Arnie. One of the things I love in that story is the way, like, first I get really into all the sort of Army terminology that I'm sort of learning as I hear it. And then suddenly there's that very human moment of the old couple on the side of the road with the flag. And it like sort of shocks me out of this one place that I'm going. And I think that's what war does, you know, like there's the technology of war and all the language of war. And then there's the real affected people, you know, sitting there with a tattered flag. I love that moment in that story. Okay, we're going to move forward. Frank Critelli was the first performer at the very first Songs and Stories in August 2019. And here he is again. I'm excited to see him return. He's both a great singer-songwriter in his own right, a member of the band, the three-man band, The Bargain, and a tireless supporter of other singer-songwriters. As Master of Ceremonies at the Sunday Brunch at Cafe 9 and at Another Round at Next Door, their songwriting series, and as a DJ on Cygnus Radio and WPLR's local bands show, he shows utmost concern that you as the listener and that the musicians as well all have, in the words of the Velvet Underground, a real good time together. So here is Frank Critelli to end our show.
Thank you very much, Saul. I've also been having a real good time together with all of you, and it's an honor to share a virtual stage with you. Saul and Nextdoor and the folks at Nextdoor have been especially kind to me, so it's a real honor for me to do this show that kind of honors and supports the staff at Nextdoor. So if you see that PayPal link and you got a couple of extra bucks and you want to send it their way, that would be a wonderful thing. And thank you very much for listening to me. The theme, I guess, today was fighting, but I'm not really a fighter. I'm a lover, not a fighter. But these are some songs that sort of kind of go along with the theme. This one's about friendships and friction in friendships. This is called Reflections on a Friendship Heading South. That's the way it goes. It's a game that he plays with rules nobody knows. It's the same mistakes again. And I'm trying to get back to the movie, 'cause I walked out in the middle, and I'm feeling just a little on the silly side. The answer to your riddle is a question. Can you fiddle with the truth this time? And hindsight's 20/20. Fair weather returns. He pretends he's your friend, but soon you will get burned. You can't fend off the end again. And I'm feeling just a little confusion about the drugs that you've been using, 'cause there seems to be a fusion of your head and ass. You are lost in your illusions and ideas that we're losing the present to the past. You judge a book by its cover. And I'm trying to get back to the movie, 'cause I walked out in the middle, and I'm feeling just a little on the silly side. The answer to your riddle is a question. Can you fiddle with the truth this time? And hindsight's 20/20. So that's a song about fighting, I guess, sort of fighting, struggles, friction in friendships. This is a song about fighting with yourself and maybe your own demons, or maybe your own insecurities, or maybe your own foibles and things like that. This is a song called A Song for Everyone. It was originally titled A Song for Everybody, but my friend Jim Stavers told me A Song for Everyone was more rhythmic. Ba-doo, ba-da, ba-doo. Ba-doo, ba-da, ba-doo, a song for everyone. So he titled this one, and that's it. It's just another step in the process. Evolution leads the way. Something's gotta change if you want progress. Stop standing in your own way and let the fear inside inspire movement to get on up and out the kitchen door. 'Cause the best way out of hell is through it, and you've been there
before. So take another step in the process. Go forward all the way. Be not proud nor myopic. Just see life for what it is. It's just another step. And take a look over your shoulder and see how far you've come. Now take a look ahead toward the future and see the work yet to be done. And take another step in the process. Evolution leads the way. Something's gotta change if you want progress. Stop standing in your own way and take another step.
Thanks for tuning in, if in fact you are tuned in. And thanks to Next Door New Haven, and thanks to Saul, and thanks to all the performers that I heard today. And I hope to see you somewhere on down the line when things are a little bit better. And thanks especially to the fine folks at Baobab Studios, and they're on Orange Street in New Haven, Connecticut, which is where I am right now, because I'm not as smart as the people at Baobab, and they have all the technology down. So I have this nice brick wall to stand in front of and stuff like that, and these fine microphones. So thank you very much. And Rev Kev, I see you back there someplace in the ether. Thank you very much. And that's it. This is a song that's, I think, about fighting for a better world. And I wrote this, I think, in about 2007, give or take, during the Bush administration, the Bush Jr. administration. And it seems strange to be singing it again. I didn't think I would have to sing this song that much anymore for a while. For like 8 years, I figured I don't have to sing that song that much anymore. But all of a sudden, I feel like I got to sing it again. And this is a song called The Master of Anonymity, and it's about fighting for a better world. And thank you again.
Young men die in an unjust war, while we disgrace, deface, and displace the poor. When God doesn't hear us knocking on heaven's door with tickets to the Passion Play. And while the earth heats up and burns to a cinder, and we wrestle each other for the legal tender, I'm just a silly elbow bender with nothing but words to say. Let us turn into fishes and swim away. Let's lie in the grass like cows all day. Let's ponder the stars and eternity like masters of anonymity. Guns in schools, outrageous rules. Are we raising a generation of fools? And nobody seems to know what to do, and the problems get worse every day. We've put criminals in Senate seats, and the House is overrun with thieves, while mothers of children wail and grieve and pray for a better way. Let us turn into fishes and swim away. Let's lie in the grass like cows all day. Let's ponder the stars and eternity like masters of anonymity. on terror, war on drugs, birds of prey disguised as doves. Tell me what we can be proud of. All our cities have washed away. And love rises early, but hate stays up late, killing what love once tried to create. Now love's been eulogized and waked, and nobody seems dismayed. Let us turn into fishes and swim away. Let's lie in the grass like cows all day. Let's ponder the stars and eternity like masters of anonymity. So I'll ask it again, like they did back then. When will we love each other again and treat each other as brothers and friends and heed what our prophets all say? And it may sound silly, but I know it's right, that if we concentrate with all of our might, we could change the world tonight. Rise up and meet a brand new day. It doesn't have to be this way. Let's turn into fishes and swim away. Let's lie in the grass like cows all day. Let's ponder the stars and eternity like masters of anonymity.
Stay out of trouble, you crazy kids. Fight the power and be kind to one another. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all of your performances.
Excellent. Thank you, Frank.
Buddy, thank you. And
Yeah.
can I say, please, your beard looks fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
This
Yeah,
is
I'll
COVID,
keep working on
your
that.
COVID beard?
Yes, that's
Or
my
is it-
COVID beard. That's
I've
it.
never seen you bearded before.
Yeah,
You're
it's been a
handsome, man.
while. Thank you.
It changes the whole shape of your head, man.
Yeah, I think it changes my head shape for the better. I agree with you. Yeah,
You're rectangular. I like that.
yeah.
You got angles, man. The right
Yeah.
angles, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you so much to Kevin Ewing from Baobab Tree Studios, who brought us Frank just there, but who really brought us everyone. I want to remind you, donate a little money to the PayPal, right? You're going to see when you go to the Nextdoor PayPal, it'll say Doug Coffin. That's just because that is the co-owner of Nextdoor. But that's where you can give some money to support the staff of this restaurant that supported this series and Frank's series and is currently not functioning, but will be back. And I want to just, before we go away here, bring back each performer one by one, just to say, I don't know, one last little thing. So we started the night with Buzz Gordo. So Buzz Gordo, what do you have to say to us?
Hey,
Putting you on the spot.
No, I'm good. Thanks for watching, everybody. And thank you, Saul and Rev Kev, for having us. This was really fun, especially for my first time. I can't wait to be back at Nextdoor and do it in person next time. So thanks, everyone. Keep fighting the good fight. See you soon. Stay safe. Wear your mask.
Jezrie Marcano-Courtney, give us a few words.
Oh man, you don't want me to give you a few words? Okay. In all honesty, I am just sincerely, forever in the debt of Nextdoor's support. I miss you guys so much. My husband Mike says he misses the pizza. They do birthday parties every now and again, and they want to be getting the pizza from Nextdoor. So Mike says, please open up, at least for takeout. At any rate, I'm so happy to have been a part of this. Thank you, Saul. Thank you, everybody who performed this evening. You were awesome. And two important things to note: mask up, New Haven. It's important. This is how we stay safe, how we stay healthy, and of course, it goes without saying, Black Lives Matter. Thank you. That's it. Was it bad?
Okay. Excellent. What more can you say? So Wendy, a few words from you.
Well, like you said, what more can you say? Listen to jazz.
Yeah.
I want to thank you and Rev Kev. I don't know how you did it, but after 3 months of Zooming and other things, tonight I actually felt like I was with you all. Not quite the same as being there. And I would reiterate what Saul said, except if you can give a lot, give next door a lot. Give them a lot and be safe out there. Thanks, everybody. It was a pleasure tonight.
All right. Thank you, Wendy. Lara, a few words for us, for our audience, and for next door.
It's been so great. I'll just echo what everyone before me has said. It's been terrific to be with all of you tonight and all of you who are watching and supporting the staff of the Next Door. Thank you. Yes, it goes without saying. And yes, we need to say it still. Black Lives Matter. Thanks to everybody who is, doing all of the things that we need to do to help influence this country and this world to be a healthier place and a more fair place and a more equitable place and a more just place. So thank you for bringing whatever your superpowers are, whatever your talents, your skills, thank you for bringing them to this world that needs you. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Arnie, do you have a few words for us and for next door and about storytelling, perhaps?
Well, one of the advantages of going late in this group is that a lot of what I think has already been said. So I just endorse what's already been said. And if anybody out there is interested in dipping their toe in storytelling, the Institute Library Story Sharing Group is a very low pressure, enjoyable way to start that. So you can get in touch with me, or if you have contact with Saul or Wendy or Jezrie, get in touch with them and they can put you in touch with me. And we welcome people of all levels of experience and of no experience. And if anybody wants to hear all of my father's story, as above and beyond the section you heard last night, get in touch with me. Thank you.
All right, and we'll give Frank Critelli the last word for tonight.
Thanks again, Brother Saul, for having me. I appreciate you. And thanks to the folks at Next Door and to Doug and Robin especially. If I don't get a large Vinny's veggie soon, I'm not even sure what I'm going to do. So I'm keeping you in my heart and sending you good vibes. And I hope that you're back in business soon because I'm starving to death.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank everyone. Next Door, we love you. And hopefully this will help out a little bit while you're not fully operational. Thank you. Good night from Songs and Stories, New Haven, June 27th, 2020.